Hello. Welcome back to my podcast. I hope this isn't the first episode you're watching of mine. If it is, please go back to episode number 5 because this is part 2 of this story that I'm currently sharing with y'all. In my last episode, I told you all about the beginning of the worst relationship I've ever been in. And in this episode, I'm going to continue sharing that story. At the end of the last episode, I left y'all on a little cliffhanger. I shared with you how I became engaged to somebody who I had only been dating for 2 months. And this is where our story continues. So before I get started, pause this if you need to grab a drink. I am currently drinking some water because I'm feeling a little dehydrated. I took a long break in between filming the last episode to this episode, and I'm a little parched. But yeah, I have a lot of tea to spill in this episode, so I personally would opt for a cup of tea or some wine even. I will see you in 1 minute.
You have a voice. You should use it. You serve a God who gave you a gift. You should share it. You have the ability to create. Go create something. Hi, I'm Gabriellebeth, and you're listening to the Bespoken Faith podcast. My hope is to share truth, give advice, or even tell funny, not so funny stories. I may even share some poetry with y'all from time to time. So whatever we're talking about, I hope you feel welcome. And don't forget to love generously, be spoken, and have faith.
I didn't even post a picture on Facebook or even a status sharing with the world about this new exciting thing that just happened in my life. When Powder changed his relationship status from being in a relationship to engaged, he didn't even share a photo. My friends, who were also friends with him on Facebook, saw the status changed and reached out to me to confirm if what they just saw was true. And I said, yep, I'm engaged now. And they all were like, oh, congrats. But I could tell that their congratulations was not genuine, and rightfully so. On May 26th, I received a voicemail from my ex. Before I got this phone call from my ex, about a week before he called me, he actually messaged my mom. And the text was very random, out of the blue, and it said, "Is everybody okay?" And that's all he said, so my mom thought it was weird. She didn't even respond, but what happens next is even weirder. And this was very weird. I haven't talked to my ex in 6 months. This is the same ex that I had a 10-year situationship with. I shared about it in episode 4. It's that ex. I'm going to play that message for you all right now.
So I have no idea if you still have me blocked or not, which is why I'm leaving you this voicemail, but I just really need to talk to my best friend. But I know we haven't talked in a while, which again, I'm just really sorry about. I never meant for anything to get to what it was, but lately I've just had a really, really just bad overbearing feeling that you're in some sort of serious trouble or danger, if that makes any sense, or whatever else you have going on. It's not just with my ears or thinking about you, but it's the dreams that I started getting that has just really got me concerned. You needed my help with something. I don't know how to describe them, but it never used to be like this. I just wake up just worried. So I don't know what you have going on, but I also reached out to your mom earlier in case if you don't get this voicemail or I don't know. But if you happen to see Gabrielle, you can just tell her I hate her more than anything in the world. But if you happen to bump into my best friend, you can just let her know that I love her more than anything in the entire world. So, I mean, I don't know how to end this voicemail. So I don't know. I don't know how to end this. I didn't prepare for this part. So boop, I guess. I don't know, but I hope to talk to you.
So I decided to call him and see what he had to say. And he said, I've been having dreams, and they are so vivid. I keep getting this feeling like you're in danger or about to be endangered. And mind you, Michael has me blocked on every social media platform. He's not the type of person to stalk me or like keep tabs on me and see what I'm up to. But as far as I know, he just has this divine connection to me. Again, it could be the soul tie that just has never untied. I don't know. But it's a bit creepy and weird and unexplainable. And I don't care who believes me or who doesn't. I believe this to be true. Mike said that he gathered from the dreams that he was having that I was in love with someone, but this person didn't appreciate me, didn't fully value me. And he said, I'm not trying to maliciously come at you. I have no intent in telling you this other than I'm worried about you. So I speak to my ex, who I haven't spoken to in 6 months. He knows I have no interest in being with him. He has no reason to try to manipulate my relationship. Like, all this guy has ever wanted is for me to be okay and me to be happy. And for him to communicate this to me, like have dreams that are so vivid that I'm in danger or about to be endangered, that he feels like he has to tell this to me, it's just weird. But I still wrote this off and proceeded to date this man. The next trip that I went on was to Florida with my friend Jess. She really wanted to go to the beach, as did I, so we planned a beach trip. And Powder said to me, don't tell her anything about us, okay? And I was just like, okay. So when I told Jess I was engaged, she said, what? It's too soon. Love takes time to develop and grow. You're so special, Gabby. You shouldn't be engaged to the love of your life that you're going to spend the rest of your life with this soon. And that entire time in Florida, I kept kind of venting about Powder to her. Like, I was pretty torn about what I was actually doing with my life. And she finally said to me, let's not talk about Powder anymore. Let's just enjoy this time. So I tried to do that. At one point, Jess and I were on the beach, and Jess loved the beach. Like, she could lay on it for hours and swim in the ocean, and I was not like that. I'm one of those people who, like, unless it's early in the morning or in the evening, I get kind of irritated just laying in the sun. So I went to walk on the boardwalk and find a place to get a bite to eat. And I get a text asking me to call him, so I did. And when he answered his phone, he answered it and said, "Sup?" And I was just like, really? And I said to him, that is not how you answer the phone when your fiance calls you. So after that, every time he answered the phone, it was, hey baby, hello love of my life, hello future wife. Powder called me about a dozen times when I was in Florida and left me 5 voicemails. And in each one he would say,
hey baby, sorry for interrupting. I was only calling to leave a voicemail. Hey babe, sorry to interrupt us. Hi babe, sorry for calling you so much and sorry for texting you so much.
I called Powder when I got home and he said to me, promise me that this is the last trip you go on. I want us to focus on our relationship and plan out this marriage. And Dodo had me was just like, okay, Powder, whatever you say. So a couple weeks later, I meet up with my friend Victoria. Her and I were very good friends. And we just met up to go on a walk in a park. And it's been a while since we saw each other, so we were just catching up, you know. And I wasn't even with her for an entire hour. And I remember this because it started to rain, like downpour, so we had to even make our visit short. But I got home and I texted Powder that I was home, and he texted me back saying, Can we put the focus back on us now, please? And this made me angry because I don't see my friends very often. I have like 5 friends, and the last time I hung out with somebody was Jess when we went to Florida. And one afternoon I decided to go on a walk with a friend, and this is how he reacts. What? And I still stayed with him. There was another time as well when I was with my sister, and I don't remember exactly what was being said. I wish I kept the texts. But my sister and I were planning to go for a walk this evening, and I was on the phone with Powder, and he wasn't ready to let me go, but I had already kept my sister waiting 20 minutes for me to get off the phone with Powder. So I say to him, I'm going on a walk now, I'll call you in 30 minutes. And he said, no, this conversation's not done yet, and I just hung up on him. So as my sister and I were driving to this park that we were going to walk at, he calls me repeatedly, like one call after the other. And the drive is maybe like 8 minutes to the park. He called me like 20 times. And I left my phone in the car as we walked. And when I got back to the car, he was still calling me. I had 49 missed calls from him. So I get home and I call him back and I ask him, why couldn't you just wait? And he said, sorry, I got a little impulsive. A little. I wish I could remember why he was so upset or why he kept calling me, but I'm telling y'all, there were so many instances when I should have just walked away and stupidly decided to stay with him. So one night, my mom and I were on a drive together, and she could tell I was pretty stressed out of my mind. Like the wheels in my head were turning. And she said to me, Gabby, what's wrong? And I tried to tell her, oh, nothing. But mama always knows best. So we get to talking, and she asks me, do you really, deep in your heart, love Powder? Because I know you know that there's a difference between loving someone and being in love with someone. And I just kind of shrugged and peeped out a tiny, yeah. And then she asked, Gabby, who is your best friend? And I just started crying because I knew in my heart who my best friend was. And she takes me by the hand and says to me, Gabby, whatever you decide to do, I just want you to be happy. I don't want to see you marry this person and know in your heart that it wasn't the right person. So that night I went to bed, and when I wake up in the morning, I have the strongest, punch to the gut feeling. It just plopped in my stomach, and this feeling confirmed that I wasn't supposed to be with Powder. So I tried talking to Powder, and I expressed some of the concerns that I had. And I say to him that I'm feeling pretty confused about us, and I think it was a mistake to get engaged so quickly. And every time I tried to talk to him, he would say, God has confirmed it so many times that we're supposed to be together. He showed me visions of our wedding day. He's spoken to me numerous times. And I would say, well, I understand God speaking to you, but how come I'm not getting all of that confirmation? And he would say it's because I'm giving too much mind to the outside influence, and I'm giving too much mind to fear, because those around me who love me are concerned for me. And he told me to delete every text from my mom. If I received a text from a friend about him and I, do not even read it, just delete it. Because all that's going to do is put ideas in my head that we shouldn't be together, and he didn't want me to have doubts. And I stupidly listened to him. So the last weekend of June, Powder had planned to come to Charlotte. Well, I came to find out a couple weeks before our trip that my brother from Colorado was also coming into town. This was a very last minute trip because our grandma is battling cancer. She's not doing very well. So my brother and his family came to Charlotte the same weekend that Powder was planning to come to Charlotte. So my mom plans a family outing to an aquarium, and she invites Powder and I. And when I tell him, he says to me, but we made our plans weeks ago. And now your mom expects us to move our plans around for her? And I said to him, well, really, what are we doing that we can't spend 2 hours with my family? You'll get to meet my family. They'll finally get to meet you. You'll get to meet my brother, who you might only ever get to meet like once a year. And he just didn't want any part of it. He said that if I agreed to go with my family to the aquarium, that I was being selfish. So I told my mom that I couldn't be disrespectful to Powder and that we wouldn't be able to make it. And my mom and I got into a big argument about that. And she stopped talking to me completely. I was very distraught at this point, and rightfully so. I was really upset because it really wouldn't have hurt anybody for me and him to go to that aquarium. Like, it honestly would have been fun. But because he wanted me all to himself, I don't know, like, he just made a big deal out of a little inconvenience. And what did we do when he came to visit? We literally went and walked around the park and got coffee. Like, there was nothing for us to do because we couldn't even check into the Airbnb until 3 o'clock. So really, it was just absolutely ridiculous. Before this entire trip happened, Powder could tell I was very upset that me and my mom had gotten into that argument. And when I picked him up from the airport for our visit, he had said to me that he almost committed suicide that night. He tried telling me that he said goodbye to all of his friends and his mom, and he said that he almost did it. And I started crying, and I was like, dude, WTF, like, our plans are bad, but they're not worth killing yourself over. WTF, like, why am I even with this dude? Like, I couldn't even tell that that was complete manipulation, but that's what it was. So him and I continued to visit that weekend, and the entire time he's just upset with me because I was upset because of this wedge between me and my family now. And I knew that I should have went to the aquarium with them. Like, I knew that I should have never backed out of those plans. Like, yes, Powder and I had made these plans first, but my mom was literally just asking us to come out with them, and he didn't want to. I honestly feel like this weekend with him shouldn't have ever happened. Like, I really should have ended things with him a lot sooner because I could see the tension that was already there, and I was really just kidding myself. So on Sunday, Powder and I went to church, and my dad texted me, and he invites us to lunch with my brother before he has to leave that day. And he said, your brother missed you at the aquarium. We'd love to have you guys over for lunch. So I went. Powder didn't come. He said he was going to stay at the Airbnb and take a nap. So I left, and I'm 30 minutes into our visit, and my phone starts ringing. After the third call, I knew I was going to be in big trouble if I didn't leave soon. So I said my goodbyes, and I left, and I called Powder back, and he's just really upset. And I get on the phone with him, and he said, I went for a walk and I got lost, so I Ubered to a Burger King, meet me there. And I was like, which Burger King? And he was like, the only Burger King in, I won't say the exact town, but. So I meet him, and he's sitting in a booth by the time I get there. And I tried to hug him when I saw him. He just ignored me. Then I tried to talk to him face to face, and he just looked straight past me like this and started eating a French fry. At this point, I excused myself and went to the bathroom. I wish I would have just went back to my parents. Like, I didn't deserve that. But I wasn't quite done putting myself last yet. So later that night, we tried to talk things through, and I could tell that neither of us really wanted to be there, but at least we were communicating. I had gotten a text that night from my friend Victoria, and she had invited Powder and I out for lunch too that day after church, but I told her that I knew that she really didn't like him and that she already formed an opinion about him, and I said thanks but no thanks basically. And she texted me that night just reminding me that if I ever needed anything at all whatsoever, that she would be there. So I dropped Powder off at the airport. So the next day, you could cut the tension between Powder and I with a knife. Like, it was thick. We went for coffee before I dropped him off at the airport, and we were kind of just like short with one another. When I finally dropped him off at the airport, I was relieved that I got to go home and just be with my sister. I wish I had saved our text messages. The only things I do have are the voicemails. For a bit of context, I was delivering for Amazon at the time. And for anyone who's delivered with Amazon, you know that your days are very long. And even though you want to talk to people on the phone, you also have to pace yourself and get your orders done, and you have to concentrate at times. And there is a lot of concentration, sometimes a little bit of multitasking. So I would talk to him here and there, but not for very long because I needed to concentrate on my work. Well, Powder likes to talk a lot, so sometimes we'd get on the phone and he would just talk and talk and talk, and I would just be like, So we went on this tangent, as he often would, and I wasn't giving him my fullest attention because I was busy making these deliveries, and this job was so tiring. Like, if you've ever delivered before, you know, it's exhausting. And Powder wouldn't get home from his job until very late, sometimes after midnight. And he would expect me to stay up and talk to him when he would get home from work. And then he would get upset with me when I would fall asleep on him. So I'll play a bit of this voicemail because it's rather long. And let me know what you think. Was I being a bad girlfriend? Because he makes it sound like I was being a terrible girlfriend.
Sorry for calling you so much, and I'm sorry for texting you so much. Just figured it'd be better to tell you things instead of just do it through messaging. So I'm going to try and say this as nicely as possible. What I'm trying to say is I'm tired of being treated this way. Keep doing the same things over and over again. All I was trying to do was call you to apologize. You said you wanted to talk to me before my shift. You said you wanted to hear from me then. All you had to do was tell me, hey, I can't talk right now. Can we talk during your break? It would have been fine. No problem. Don't give me attitude because I'm upset because I'm being ignored. That wasn't okay. It was very rude, and it was kind of selfish. Not to mention last night, when I had to basically wrestle with you just to get time to talk with you after waiting to talk to you all day. Just quit focusing on you and focus on us. It's that simple. Realize that you have somebody in your life now that needs more attention. Put you aside. It's that simple. I do it every day. I do it for you all the time. I don't like being treated like that by somebody who's supposed to love me. Quit making it about you. It's that simple. I love you, but things need to change. Thinking about walking away because it's too stressful, give changing your behavior a thought. Because even if you are to walk away from me, you're going to take this behavior right into the next relationship. But I can't do this by myself, and I can't do it if your focus is always going to be on you.
Just listening to this voicemail brought back so many flashbacks of how I used to feel almost every time I would talk to Powder. There were so many moments where I would be talking to him and I would just feel the sadness and feeling of hopelessness come over me. And there were a few times when I would be at my parents' house and my mom or my siblings would notice me talking to Powder. They would see me have this blank stare on my face and just this really, really sad look. And they would always ask, "Are you okay?" And I would always respond with, "Yes, I'm fine." Everyone could see that I was just lying to myself, but deep down, I was frustrated, confused. I was questioning my faith, and I was very, very sad. He made me feel really poopy about myself, and this wasn't the only time either. Over the next 2 weeks, Powder seemed to be doing better. He was strengthening his relationship with God, making appointments to meet with his pastor, and we had planned to see each other again at the end of July. But after having 2 deep conversations with 2 of my closest friends, I decided to end things. Woo! She finally did it! She woke up from her slumber and ended things with him. Yeah! It was really hard because I had myself convinced that this man was truly the man that God had for me. But again, if I just looked at our relationship with actual eyes and from the perspective of somebody who cares, I would have seen it for everything that it was. About a week after our breakup, Powder calls me. Only this time he seems oddly different. He seems like he's trying to actually better himself. He finally made an appointment to take his driver's test. He started eating healthier and changing his bad habits. It's like I hit a reset button because I was head over heels for him again. Anyone who has been through a hard breakup or any breakup at all, you know how just heartbroken you feel moments after it happens, or even weeks after you experience that. And the number one rule that I broke was the no contact rule. We were both in a place of heartache, and he reached out to me in a moment of weakness. I responded to him, and because we were both so fragile, we decided to continue our relationship. Now, he apparently had this epiphany with God that he needed to change and started making all of these changes. You know, he started eating healthier, taking better care of his body. And I really believe that he was a changed man, like overnight. And everybody just thought I was absolutely crazy because he has unhealed trauma that he never got therapy for. He has so many underlying issues that he needed to heal from and get therapy for, but he just wasn't. And people like him do not change overnight. Do not buy that BS. That is one thing that I regret doing, but I still wasn't done learning my lesson. I actually do have the text from last year from when one of my good friends had reached out to me. She had asked if him and I had gotten back together, and I said yes, he's different now, he's more devoted to God. All of my resentment towards him vanished, and I'm ready to try this again and see where it goes. My other really good friend, Victoria, told me straight up that she couldn't support me making this decision because she knew I deserved so much better. Basically, she could see through all of his BS, which it really was all BS. And I said to her, well, if you can't be happy for me, then I guess we can't be friends. So, oh God, that's so like childish of me. But yeah, I blocked her and deleted her number. I threw away my friendships of 5 years for this one guy. I threw away a community that I at one point couldn't see myself living without. And ever since I did that, I live with regret because I treated these girls like absolute garbage when they were just trying to be there for me in the way that friends would be. When a friend who you think wouldn't be so naive to choose a guy who wasn't any good for her over your friendship, that hurts. I didn't know it was possible to reset the honeymoon phase, but that's what happens. So we met up again the first weekend in August. We were so happy together. Then after that trip, we started planning my birthday weekend, which was 3 weeks away. It only took about 10 days for the honeymoon phase to wear off completely. And my gut was literally screaming at me, telling me not to see him. But I felt like I had to see him to prove to myself if these were only emotions I was feeling or if we truly loved each other. So the weekend comes around, I picked him up from the airport, and as soon as I'm about to hug him, like we were at least a foot away from each other, something drops in my stomach telling me I need to get away from him. And all I thought was, you dummy, you're stuck with him for the next 3 days now. We went to dinner, and then we just sat in my car talking for a while. Then we go to mine and my sister's apartment, and we go to bed. The next morning, we decided to go to the gym together, and this was the very first time that we worked out together. Which, if you're someone who is very into fitness, I suggest that you and your boyfriend, or you and your girlfriend, if you're a guy watching this, that you plan a gym date before getting serious. Because my workouts are very structured. I go in the gym and I know exactly what I'm doing. Sometimes I improvise, like the exercises and stuff, but if I'm working out shoulders and triceps, I'm working out shoulders and triceps, and then I just kind of flow through the workout. Well, Powder was all over the place, so I just let him do his thing while I went and did my thing. Then after I was done, I went up to him and I told him I was done, and I could see that he was struggling with the weight that he had on his cable. He was doing like tricep extensions, and I said to him, careful pulling that much weight, you don't want to get an injury. And he got all mad and huffy and puffy and just put the cable back up and walked away. And I was like, well, I don't want to hurt your ego. I just don't want you to get physically hurt. And he just ignored me and walked out of the gym. So I could tell this was going to be a great weekend already. I'll spare you the rest of the details, but I will say this. I went into that weekend with no expectations. I went with my eyes and mind open so I could see the situation for what it was. And the entire time we were there, I just wanted to get away from him. He continually, and I mean like every 5 minutes, would ask me if I was okay. If I was quiet for a little bit, are you okay? Like, I'm naturally introverted, so a lot of the times I don't talk unless I feel like talking, but I'm perfectly fine if the conversation isn't always flowing or if we don't always have something to say, but for me to be quiet, he always assumed something was wrong. So he'd always ask me, are you okay? Are you okay? He was always following, and wherever I went, he had to be there. And this might sound petty, but getting ready is like a form of self-care for me. Like, I love doing my hair and makeup in peace. Like, don't bother me, don't interrupt my flow, like, let me just get ready in peace. And I guess Powder would get bored during that 30 minutes that he would be left alone. And he would put on karaoke on YouTube and sing very loudly and off key, as if he was entertaining me. And this happened twice. The first time I just let it go. I just got ready. But the second time I had to put in my AirPods because I just couldn't take it anymore. On the morning of my birthday, I went into one of the bathrooms that had a jacuzzi tub in it, and I just sat in the tub. No, I didn't take a bath. I just sat in the tub and looked out the window, wishing that I was somewhere else. He had made me dinner for my birthday, and it was a nice dinner. You know, it wasn't anything like super fancy. I mean, the kid couldn't really cook very well. He just heated up some food. And one of the things he made me was broccoli. And he put so much butter in that broccoli that it literally tasted like popcorn. Like, I could hardly eat it. So yeah, the kid couldn't really cook, but at least he tried. And he tried to make it special. I think he was trying to prove to me that he could be a wonderful man, but it was a facade. So the next morning, we're driving back to Charlotte, and I drop him back off at the airport. And I get back to my car after dropping him off. And I had some leftover apple turnovers in my backseat, and I just pull out the apple turnover container and open it and just sit in my car eating this apple turnover. And I'm just like decompressing and realizing, oh my goodness, I'm alone again. And that feeling of being alone, it was the most freeing feeling. I think of like people who are in prison for 15 years. And then they finally get out and see the streets again, and they're not cuffed. They don't have to go back to their cell. They're free. That's exactly how I felt. That's dramatic, but that's the best way I can describe it. There were numerous times that weekend that I said I wish I had stayed broken up with him, that I said I shouldn't be here, that I should have canceled that trip with him and invited my siblings to go to the beach with me, that this is not the man I want to marry. Everything I needed to know was confirmed in my heart that weekend. And exactly one day after that trip, I ended things with him. When I was breaking up with him, he kept asking me, how come you won't let yourself have this? How do you know you're not just letting your insecurities get in the way? And I just said to him, I don't have to answer any questions. This is goodbye. And that was the last time that we spoke. And that's the end of the story. I'm sure there are a lot more details that I could have included. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But to make a long story short, a man came into my life, played me right, acted like everything I ever wanted. The suckiest part about this, and the thing that hurts the most, is I lost some really good friends from this. I burned bridges that can't be repaired. And that's something I have to live with. In some ways, I wish I could just hit a reset button and never responded to his first message that he ever sent. But I truly think I needed this lesson. I needed to learn that when it comes to relationships, you can never be too careful. And I trusted this man and fell for him all too quickly. And all the red flags were there. My friends and family were showing me their concerns, and I was just ignoring them. So really, I had to learn this lesson this way. I'm just grateful that this love bubble didn't last longer than it did. That I didn't marry him. That I didn't, God forbid, have sex with him or get pregnant by him. The fact of the matter is, I was in love with this false version of who I wanted Powder to be. But deep down, I knew that he was never the man I wanted to spend my life with. So that's the story. I hope you all got something out of it. I know it was a lot, and I'm grateful to be here to share it with you all. And I'm grateful to be on the better side of it. By the way, this message was so stressful and I could feel the stress in my voice. While I was dating Powder, my voice was always stressed like this. There was never a time where I spoke calmly or didn't have stress in my voice. I was in complete turmoil and being pulled in two opposite directions. Part of me was telling me to just be with him and that I loved him. And then there was part of me that was like, I don't know, like something doesn't feel right. And if something doesn't feel right, it's not right. Always trust that intuition. Always trust your gut. It will never steer you wrong. Believe me. So that's all I have for you all today. Thank you so much, so much for being here. Be blessed. Have faith. And I will talk to you in the next episode.